Hey everybody, welcome to our YouTube channel. My name is Kim Barrett and this is Ray Oliver, and we are childhood friends from Orange, New Jersey. We were educated both in urban areas. Ray was educated somewhat in East Orange and then moved over to Orange. I was educated 100% in Orange, New Jersey, graduated from Orange High School in 1987 as an academic All-American. But it wasn't always an easy journey. We went to urban schools, and we didn't always have the necessary resources. We didn't always have current books. We didn't always have the big gymnasiums that other schools had. Right. We didn't have swim teams and all that kind of stuff. Right.
PTAs.
Went to college, but first joined the Marine Corps right after high school. Got pregnant just as I was going to start college, and that delayed college a bit, which pushed me to having to go to college part-time while I raised my son, who is now almost 33 years old. He sometimes had to go to school with me because I didn't always have a sitter to leave him with. My family did support as much as they could, but he wasn't their responsibility. I didn't always have the money to pay for classes. I didn't always have the ability to get to classes. So, there was a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of late nights, a lot of tears, a lot of stress, but made it through. Ray, how about you?
So I graduated a year before Kim, 1986.
Older.
And better class though. But the point is that I really was not motivated educationally. It was weird because my older sister was a dominant academic person, and I was so far removed academic, in terms of years from her, that I really just was a great kid. I was socially promoted. I never caused a problem in school. I had C's throughout my entire career in high school, which meant that I really just wasn't challenged. I just wasn't a problem. In an urban environment, as long as you ain't no problem,
right,
you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And that's that. But that winds up becoming a problem later on because you don't learn the value of education.
Right.
You don't learn the mechanisms on how to study, how to go to class, be on time, why that's important, because it leads to other lessons in life. So for me,
it leads to bad habits.
Absolutely. And I think the bad habits discontinued. I probably always had them. It just didn't cost me yet. And when I was challenged by some things where I really had to show and prove, I couldn't. So for me, I didn't get my, I wound up going to college, playing football, got kicked out. That was the cross the road. That's when the rubber met the road. And I had to realize whether or not I really wanted to be something in life or not. So I wound up working full time, putting myself through school because my mother wasn't putting another dime into it. And really just motivating myself to be a better me. So after that, I wound up becoming a teacher, actually. Crazy enough. I got into teaching because, like in most urban environments, I had to work somewhere.
Yeah.
And because of my relationships, I wound up working with our juvenile justice system. And I wound up working with kids who were locked up. And when I was a counselor, so when the teachers wouldn't come in, I would teach them. I wound up having like a dual hat. And I went from counseling them to teaching them, and that's when I got to teaching both. And I had an option, either become a police officer or become a teacher, and I wound up going right into teaching. So once I did that, I realized that, listen, I'm no different than them. Right. I'm just a couple of years different, one generation different from these kids. And I wound up really learning a lot about myself and about what it took in terms of motivation of getting these kids to really look at education in a different way, because I didn't. And at the end of the day, becoming a teacher, there's some things that are germane or specific to the urban environment. Yeah. When it comes to the challenges. What are they, right? So one issue is that there's a lack of the proper school. Like the buildings are old and dilapidated. There's not a lot of resources when it comes to these kids eating all the time. They wind up eating poor stuff like honey buns and all this other stuff, just because it's cheap, it's quick, and they can get it in their bodies, but that they're getting sugar spikes. They're not able to really regulate their emotions all day because their stomachs are growling. A third thing are the books, right? I know when we were in school, our books were old.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like the child educational prodigy that Kim was, that can actually didn't mind going to a library or reading. So whatever they put in front of me is what it was. And unfortunately, what was in front of me really wasn't accurate. It was either out of date, or it just didn't have all the proper information. And the last part of this thing is our teachers. We had some great teachers that we were very cool with. They were respectful. They were teaching us things, but honestly, they weren't the best in terms of what they did. In terms, like when you there's an issue in urban America, but I think America in general, where we're not taking care of our teachers properly.
Right.
They're underpaid and overworked. And what happens is, what I was always told when I got into education, the best teachers don't teach. They're either in private business or they're doing something else because there's no money in it.
Right.
And unfortunately, teachers have to, they got to raise their families. They got to do things that really do go outside the scope of just sitting in a classroom. We know that as a teacher, I can tell you right now, I spend more money on teaching supplies than they ever gave me in a check, right? So we're actually doing more than I think is probably needed, but we're not prepared to do. And if you look at it, that's a problem that is specific in urban America.
Yeah.
That the buildings are old, the books are old, the teachers are overworked and underpaid, and the kids aren't motivated to understand why it's important to conjugate a verb, why it's important to really connect the education to practical life, right? Understanding that learning math is just balancing the checkbook, right? Understanding that, I remember one of the greatest things I learned in high school, believe it or not, Kim, is how to type.
Oh yeah.
But wait, they don't even teach that anymore.
No.
Right, like the social side of that type of home economics is gone, right? We in our school we used to have an automotive department.
Automotive,
or group.
sewing, cooking. They don't teach those basic skills anymore.
So there's a lot of stuff that's gone that really need to come back.
Yeah.
And the only way our kids are able to achieve the success they need is with people like us that go outside of what's offered and kind of supplement the stuff that's missing.
Right.
But I have a question for you. What in your environment, because you're in the professional world, tell me one of the biggest lies you've heard or misconceptions about education in urban environment and stuff.
I would say one of the biggest lies I've heard people talk about, and it's not from everybody, but a lot of people talk about, is that they don't believe kids who come from these urban environments have the intellectual aptitude to be successful. They just don't think that they can get it done. And it's unfortunate that they think that way, because then they already are biased when they get resumes and applications from these kids who are trying to get into the professional world. And the only way they can do it is, by sending a cold application in, because they don't have the connections that these suburban kids have, and that kids who come from more affluent areas and families have. They don't have an uncle who's a CEO here or an aunt who's a CFO here. They don't have any of that. So they have to rely on their brain power. So what I would like to do is partner with people like you and all of our other peers who are in positions that we're in, and challenge them to show these kids, this is the way you do this. This is how,
Absolutely.
This is how it is to be in a professional environment. This is what it's like. This is how you behave. This is how you dress. This is how you speak. This is how you act. In order to be successful. Not because you're trying to be someone else, but despite your circumstances, you can be successful because you're intelligent.
Absolutely.
And we know that you have that intelligence. We were those kids. We came from those environments.
Talk about it. That's right.
And we made it out, not because those challenges didn't exist, but despite the challenges that we had to endure.
That's right.
We made it out. We climbed those mountains.
We were lucky.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that we can pay it forward. And help other kids who are in similar situations, because this is happening across the nation and across the world. So we need your help. What we would like you to do is like our channel, subscribe to our channel, leave us a comment, and reach out to us. Send us an email and let us know what you can do to help us and help partner with us to help other kids across the nation.
We would like to hear some of your stories. 'Cause
Absolutely.
we're not, Jermaine, it's not just about us. I'm sure everywhere in this country, people are going through the same things. And there's some solutions that you may have that we can share with other people.
Right.
And on how to get some things done and how to really dispel some of the myths and lies that are being put out there about urban environments and the lack of education and why. So,
Yeah. So
subscribe.
help us uplift all of our most precious resource, which is
Absolutely.
the students in our neighborhoods.
You already know.